It's my very great pleasure to have my friend Tania Saleh join us from Beirut, Lebanon. I have in my hand the covers of a number of Tania's albums. I think that when I first heard you sing in Beirut, I thought that I was entirely transported to music that I love in combination. It was a combination of the old Arabic language singers from Kulthum all the way to Fairuz, but also there was a lot of Nirvana, I felt, and rock and roll. And it was that combination that was just amazing and sublime. It's a music that I think people need to follow and be introduced to in India, around the world. Not only are you, of course, a singer and a performer, Tania, but you also have decided to move in the direction of independently making music. I think that's very important.
Thank you for this very nice introduction, Vijay. I'm really honored to be with you, and I have a lot of respect for the Indian culture. I have been inspired for forever from your music, from your philosophy, and many other things. So thank you for having me. I'm really happy. And joining me will be my friend Mark Ernest, the pianist.
Well, before we have you sing a song, would you tell us a little bit about what's happening in Lebanon? Because one reads that in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, there was almost an uprising in the last couple of days.
Yeah, well, there's a big problem in Lebanon that's been going on for a long time, but we discovered it clearly in the recent in the past few months, because the economic situation have been degrading for the past 10 years without us really realizing, and maybe we were in denial, to be honest. The Lebanese people were probably in denial, because we always knew that there was something wrong about our system, about the way they rule us, this political system that's based on sectarianism, clientelism, all the corruption. We were just living with that for a long time. But then when the economic situation degraded so badly, and we realized that our economy is in shambles, we were put in a situation where we're not able to. There's a control on our assets in the banks. Even people who have a little money, they cannot withdraw as much as they want to. The dollar versus the Lebanese pound is horribly going. The rate to the Lebanese pound is becoming horrifically high. I don't know how I can explain that, but $1 used to be worth 1,500 Lebanese pounds. Now it's worth 4,000 Lebanese pounds, and still going stronger. So the people who used to earn, let's say, in Lebanese pounds, the amount that is equal to $1,000, they are now earning $500, and it's going worse and worse. And the situation is really very dangerous. And the only solution that we have now is either to comply to the IMF, or to find a way to resolve this problem in the best way possible, which is impossible because you have to get rid of the people who are ruling you, who've been ruling us for the past 40 years with their corruption, and the warlords are actually the ones who are ruling Lebanon now. So it's very complicated situation, and it's very hard to get rid of that system in the coming year or two. It's going to take time. I'm sure we're on the right track, but it's going to take a lot of time to be able to get to a state where we all are equal, gender-wise, equal in terms of, I mean, all the sects should have their the same rights, regardless of the religion. The personal laws should be worked out in a way that everyone is treated equally. I mean, it's going to take time. The COVID-19 is the least of our worries, to be honest. Like there are a few. There have been a few deaths, unfortunately. Maybe 20 to 25 people have passed away in Lebanon, and the rate is going up slowly. Until now, it's not. I mean, it's not uncontrollable. Hopefully, we're going to be able to control it if the people stay vigilant and comply to the. You know, everybody knows how they can avoid getting the affected by this virus. So this is not the problem. The problem is the economic situation. The problem is the corruption. The problem is the political system. This is our problem.
Everything you're saying, Tania, is global. In fact, think of the Indian situation with a government that is largely incompetent and callous. It's the callousness of our governments, I think, that is most shocking. To me, that's the thing that's most disheartening. But one of the things that I enjoyed in living in Beirut was to meet the family of Mahdi Amel. Hassan Hamdan, the great Lebanese Marxist who was killed in 1987. And I remember there's a line from Mahdi Amel that I found so reassuring, and I keep it in my head at all times. He wrote, "As long as we are resisting, we are not defeated." And I think there's something quite true about that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying I agree. By the way, my son asked me the other day, "Are you a communist, Mom?" I said, "Well, no, I don't think I am, because I don't want to belong to any kind of ideology." But he said, "All the people you like, all the philosophers you like, all the people you read, all the people, your friends are all kind and nice and sweet and humble, and most of them are communists." I said, "So maybe I am, maybe I am, and I'm in denial of that." But really, this philosophy, the philosophy is fantastic, but the way it was implemented was not properly implemented in many places. So that's maybe why I'm not so 100% sure that I am with the systems that are implemented. But the ideology and the philosophy is absolutely what I believe in. I mean, every human should be should think like that, because I mean, even Jesus Christ, I think, was somehow a communist, because if you think of human rights, whatever they are, if you think of people as humans and not as races or religions, then you'll be treating everyone equally and giving everyone their proper rights. So if this is called socialism, then I'm fine with that.
Well, one of the things about people like us communists is that we don't see communism as a religion. It must always improve itself. So I'm always looking at the past and different experiments, and people who have a religious attitude towards the attempt to create communism or even communist ideas, I think, are misguided. One has to have a very open and forward-looking approach. So certainly there are always problems, and I mean, humans have the great capacity, I hope, actually this is a hope rather than a statement, to learn from our errors. And we communists should be much more open to learning than to being religious about our ideas.
I agree totally. As I said to you before, when we first started our friendship, I said to you, it's better to be red than be blue. You remember that?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so are you going to sing us a song?
Yeah, I prepared something I would like to sing to you since we are in Beirut, شبابيك بيروت.
Lovely.
يسعد صباحك هالحلو يل بنت للدنيا صباح. يسعد صباحك هالحلو يل بنت للدنيا صباح. روس الجبال تكحلوا بالنور وتربط جناح بلبل حلو يا ما إلو صاور على جنون الرياح. قرم بريش البللو قطر الندي أرغل وصاح. قرم بريش البللو قطر الندي ترغل وصاح. لبنان يا قطعة سماء اسمك على شفافي صدى. اسمك على شفافي صلاة صلاة. شبابيك بيروت عم توعى مهلا وبيوت فوق بيوت شو ما عملت مرحلة عايشين فيها سوا كل مين عشباكو معنا كل العمر بزهور وشواكو. شبابيك بيروت عم توعى مهلا قصصنا منشورة حبال ومنسين لوحات ملونة عالسطوح المدين. شبابيك 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 بيروت عم توعى مهلا رالي بفنجانا اللي شو شايفنا والبحر رايح جاي لا بيتعب ولا بكن مهما صارت عتيقة وحده عليها بحن. شغبي شغبي شغبي
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Mark is my friend, and he's a fantastic pianist from Lebanon. Mark Ernest.
Tell us a little bit about that song.
Well, I just improvised this song in the best way possible because I cannot sing it every time the same way. But anyway, this is part of an album that's called A Few Images. This song is about Beirut and how I see it. There's a weird relationship with this city for me. And I think with each one of us, each Lebanese has a love and hate relationship with Beirut, because it's a place that is so beautiful and yet so crazy. And so this song is talking about this kind of hope that we all have, that it will someday awaken to a better place, and how the best relationship that this city has is with the sea, who doesn't tire from going back and forth to visit her. Because I'd like to think that Beirut is a woman who likes to stay beautiful no matter how old she gets. So this is a song about how I wish Beirut would be. And in the beginning, we tried to improvise with another song that is composed by one of the great musicians and singers of Lebanon. His name is Wadia Safi. This was a song written by a fantastic poet named Yunus al-Ibn. And it's a song that says how Lebanon is. It looks like a part of the sky. It's so beautiful that there is no place like Lebanon, and that he's describing the beauty and the charm of this country. And at the same time, I used a poem from this great poet in my recent album Intersection. In the album that in the song that I used, he's saying the opposite. He's saying that Lebanon, although it's a beautiful place, the people in Lebanon have created 50 million gods that they believed in, and that they left nothing out of this beautiful place, and they destroyed it, even though it's they all love it in their own way.
Well,
So I'd like to send my peaceful thoughts to this great poet, Yunus al-Ibn. Tell me.
I very much liked how you described your city, the city you love, a city that, unfortunately has come to be seen for not what it is, which is really a beautiful place, wonderful people. This happens to so many beautiful places. Yemen, for instance, just one of the most beautiful, sublime places in the middle of such a cruel war. Or Kashmir, gorgeous, beautiful place, wonderful history. And it's been under lockdown, Tania, longer than this current lockdown. The internet cut, people basically imprisoned, horrible situation. It's a great tragedy. And it also, as you mentioned, this history of Lebanese poetry. Kashmir has a history of beautiful poetry that goes back to what I suppose we call the medieval period. Great literature, great poetry, a terrific tradition, but so badly suppressed. And could you tell us a little bit, for people who don't know, about this very rich cultural tradition of Lebanon that has so many different streams? People don't know. And, so much of your own art is resurrecting, not only from Lebanon, but resurrecting the songbook of the Mediterranean. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, in my last album, I tried to have as many poets from the region as possible. I did a big research, and I discovered fantastic poets who not only wrote about love songs and love poetry about love, and this because in general that's what we know best. Like all the Arabs have great ability to describe their emotions. One emotion is love, but other emotions have been in time left out and undiscovered. So I tried to just shed some light on a few great poets. The thing is that some Lebanese think that Lebanon is not part of the Arab world. Lebanon is only Phoenicians. They regard Lebanon as only a Phoenician country that has no Arab roots at all. In my opinion, it's both. And the greatness of the Arab culture when it at its apogee has brought a lot of influences to Lebanon. And at the age where there was an upheaval of literature in the Levant, and Lebanon was responsible for that upheaval, and they set the trend with fantastic poets from Lebanon mainly, all because they were the ones who tried to discover the richness of the Arabic language throughout poetry. And we also have the poetry of the people, which is called the Zajal, and also we have different kinds of poetry like Mijana and Ataba. Ataba is a very special kind of poetry where it's made of 3 verses and some kind of chorus, but in the 3 verses the rhyme is sounds the same but means 3 different things. So it's extremely interesting to dig into that. I think poetry is one of the best art forms that we have in our region, and I hope it will find a way to sustain itself, and maybe the new generation will come up with new styles of music that will make this stand out more and more.
I mean, I think that in much of the world, the one Arab poet that everybody from our political tradition knows is, of course, the great Palestinian voice of Mahmoud Darwish. But we don't really know enough about other poets, other traditions. One of the great things I've learned from the Mediterranean region is so many political people, let's name them, so many communists also happen to be poets, like Shokri Beled, who was assassinated in 2013, a leader of the Workers' Party in Tunisia, was a poet, and a working class leader, and so on. Poetry is so essential. I wish we knew more about it.
Yes, Ahmed Fuad Nagm is also another example of he's an Egyptian, also a communist poet who spent his life in prison. Actually, he went out 2 days and then went in 2 years, and that's how he lived his life. So yeah, there's a. I mean, I think if you're connected to the human cause, then you must be communists in some way. I guess so.
And also, I mean, I hope our politics isn't just about ideas; it's also about emotions. And I think if you're not connecting emotionally to the human currents around you, I think it's not all about economic structures, is what I'm saying. The palette of emotions is so essential, because it touches people, it touches us all. If we are not capable of being touched, our souls have become hard.
It's true. It's true, and it's I think it was a good idea that you mentioned Yemen. Yemen, for example, even if you're, I mean, any human being looking at this country and what has gone through, I mean, for a very long time, can maybe understand a lot of things, because it's been tormented between the two systems of the world, the capitalist and the communist, for a long time, and it's still going through wars, and the human being is still mistreated. So it's I hope, like you said, I hope it's going to be a lesson for humanity to learn from. Maybe all the systems don't work anymore. Maybe we should find a new system that can cater for the humanity the way it has become now. Maybe we should rethink everything, rethink all the ideologies, and try to find a way to. Like Roger was saying, Roger Waters, in your interview, I heard it yesterday, that maybe we should find a way to help each other rather than kill each other, and find a way to stop the wars, and find a common ground to this humanity in any way possible.
I mean, I think the problem is that most people agree with this view. We need to find a way. But there's a lot of hopelessness, an epidemic, global pandemic of hopelessness. I think people just don't feel like they can do anything or contribute in any way. And I find this terrible. And, it breeds cynicism. People get cynical, they get distressed. Quite a sad, I find this to be really the worst thing, is cynicism and hopelessness.
Yes, I agree. But there's always hope in the new generation. Like I felt that when the revolution in Lebanon started on the 17th of October, I was also hopeless. I was also feeling what you're just describing. But then the young people showed me that, you know what? Stop stop nagging and stop lamenting. Let us take the lead. And this is, I think, is going to happen in the next generations, and those young people know many things that we don't know, and they can deal with problems in a different way. So we don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully that it's going to go in the right direction, right? Between brackets, we don't know what's right and what's wrong. As long as it works for them, then it's okay.
Yeah, we want to advance humanity. I think that's the main thing. So what are you going to sing for us next?
Okay, since we talked about Yemen, I want to sing a song from my latest album, Intersection. It's called In Other People's Land. It's describing how a person is lost in his identity. It's a poet from Yemen. His name is Abdallah al-Bardouni, and he's describing himself as a citizen of the world who is lost in he doesn't know what his identity is anymore, and he's feeling this patriotism, but at the same time he has no patrie, he has no country to feel this patriotism for. So it's called In Other People's Land.
من أين أنا من يدري أوليست لي جنسية نسبي رايات حمر وفتوحات ذهبية فلماذا تستغربني هذه الزمر الخشبية من أين أنا من يدري أوليست لي جنسية نسبي رايات حمر وفتوحات ذهبية فلماذا تستغربني هذه الزمر الخشبية رياح بلادي خلفي ومعي مثلي منسية حتى أرضي يا أرضي كأهاليها منفية عربي لا تعرفني حتى الدنيا العربية وبلاد بلادي من فات متاهات أبدية من أين أنا مسؤول سوال دون هوية وبلا وطن لكني موهوم بالوطنية من أين أنا من يدري أوليست لي جنسية نسبي رايات حمر وفتوحات ذهبية فلماذا تستغربني هذه الصور الخشبية عربي لا تعرفني حتى الدنيا العربية عربي عربية عربي
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Habibi.
That was just beautiful. I mean, tell us a little bit more about that song and that poem.
This is, like I said, it's a poem by a Yemeni poet called Abdallah al-Bardouni. He's describing himself as an Arab that is, that all the Arabs are disregarding. He's saying that I have, as an Arab, I have won wars and I had glory at some point in my life. Why am I not considered one of you? Why are you just casting me away? I feel like I'm an Arab that is not recognized as a whole citizen by the Arabic system. So I wanted to use this poem because it says a lot about us as Arabs. First, when we travel to the world, how we are treated by other communities, that we are like not second generation, low, how can I describe that best? Low class citizens, or maybe a lower class human being, or they don't treat you like a proper person just because you come from this part of the world. Just like they, so this poet is describing this situation of him being an Arab, and how the rest of the world sees him. At the same time, how the Arabs see him. And not only the Western world is making him feel unimportant, but also the Arab world is making him feel unimportant. So he's feeling lost in both worlds, and he doesn't have an identity neither here nor there. So this was very important, a very important poem, because it's describing us all. I mean, maybe the Palestinian can feel the same, the Lebanese can feel the same, the Yemeni can feel the same, the Syrian can feel the same, now the Iraqi feels the same. So it's become like a pandemic in the Arab world, this feeling.
I mean,
of non-belonging.
It's a hard thing to talk about, because there's almost a million tragedies in the lands of Arabic-speaking peoples. I mean, whether it's, as you said just now, Palestine, Iraq, Yemen, Libya, there's like a million tragedies. And even though the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for a ceasefire, he said it's a global pandemic, there should be a ceasefire, immediate suspension of arms trade and so on. And yet, the gunfire is still on in Libya, and yet, the situation of the Palestinians is not going to be much improved in this. Could you talk a little bit about, from the perspective of Beirut, how the situation of the Palestinians, a cause very close to the heart of people, on the left in India and so on, how the situation of the Palestinians is viewed at this time?
It's, how can I express that best? We have a lot of like maybe 500,000 Palestinians in camps in Lebanon. We don't treat them in a fair way either. We just put them in those camps. We refuse to give them jobs. We refuse to give them proper education. We just cast them away as if they are not a part of our society. So I feel really helpless towards this particular situation, because to me this cause is extremely important, because I come from the south of Lebanon. Like I come from a village that is so close to Palestine. Like I can see Palestine from my village, and after the Sykes-Picot agreement, how they dissected our land and they gave us each a piece of land, and thought that we as people would be okay with this dissection of our lands. But in reality, we are all one people. We have the same traditions. We have the same kind of geography. We have the air that we breathe is the same. So, and especially the people of the south of Lebanon, who have lived the messy situation with the Israelis, the occupation for a long time. We are still living until today, every day, every single day. The Israeli airplanes are looping non-stop on top of our heads every single day. And I want to tell you one anecdote. When I was a kid, when I was in school, I was maybe 6 when the Lebanese war started. And during that time, my school was next to a Palestinian camp. So every Wednesday on math class, I remember that very well, the planes came, the Israeli planes came and did some kind of, they call it غارة وهمية. It means that it's not a real invasion, it's a semi invasion. They just do that to make the people fear, but it's not a real invasion. So for us little kids in school, hearing this airplane coming so close to the camp and living with that for a long time was tormenting, and it was not, it gave me a feeling from the beginning, from an early childhood, that it's not, the problem in Lebanon was not only about the Lebanese, it was also about the Palestinian cause. So I have that in my system until now, and I still think that this, because also their leadership is messed up, to be honest. Like they don't have a united leadership to talk in their name. So, which is the main problem, I think, which has started after the Oslo Agreement. So I don't know how these people will feel, will have a normal life inside Lebanon or inside Jordan or inside Syria in camps, living in the way they are living. Because sometimes I think our governments, our Arab governments, are treating them as badly as the Israelis are treating them in their own land. So gladly, there are to be positive. There are many artists who have been able to express their feeling about the cause in art, like you mentioned, Mahmoud Darwish, or the singers and poets of our generation and the generation that's coming. The cinema, the films, the filmmakers, the Palestinian filmmakers, whether living in Palestine or abroad, all those people are helping slowly but surely to bring back this cause to the light, or maybe to phrase it better, to keep this cause in the light. And it's also because the Palestinian people, especially the young generation, are refusing to be erased from history.
Yeah, it's one of the great tragedies that we have to even make the case that Palestine is occupied. People deny the very fact of the occupation. That it's occupied is something we have to make going red in the face. People will say, no, it's not occupied. Well, if it's not occupied, why is it so hard to have transit? And what is Palestine in the end? Now even shrunk by American complicity with the Netanyahu government to shrink even more. It's terrible. It's brutal. The Indian government buys half of all the weapons that Israel exports. And to my mind, because India is such an enormous customer of Israeli weapons, India is essentially subsidizing the occupation of the Palestinians. And this is a great shame to us in India, because for decades, India was a defender of the Palestinian cause in the United Nations, in the non-aligned movement, and so on. And that road has been really destroyed, the road of solidarity with the Palestinian people and so on, by the governments we've had in the last several decades, which have really colluded with the Israeli government, against the Palestinians. And so your voice is very important for people to hear, to understand that there is wide international support for the Palestinian people. It's not an idiosyncratic thing, it cranks like myself who keep talking about this over and over again. There's broad international support for, the suppression of the people, and, the price that Palestinians have paid for European racism. I think the point you make is a very important one. It's not at all misconstrued.
Well, I also have to pay for the fact that I say the things the way they are in a country where this is not acceptable from everyone, and in an industry where this is not acceptable, like being a musician, and especially in the Arab world, and saying the things that are so clear and so evident is not wanted, and it's putting obstacles in my way as a musician in this part of the world. But anyway, you cannot but say the things the way they are if you want to be honest to yourself as a human being.
I mean, look, there's a good reason, Tania, why our festival this year begins with Amir Aziz, who says what he needs to say. He's a really wonderful young poet. It's a good reason that you are in the festival, and it's a good reason that we have Roger Waters in the festival, because the three of you and the others in the lineup say exactly what you feel. Your purpose in life as artists isn't to merely beautify the world. Of course, we want to bring beauty into the world, but beauty must also come with a sense of our reality, not against our reality.
Totally agree.
So in that regard, we have time for, I think, another song from you. What would you do for us?
Okay, now I'm going to sing a hopeful song, if Mark is still willing to help me do that. It's a song written by an Iraqi poet, a female Iraqi poet. Her name is Nazik al-Malaika, and it's a song about she's asking, it's an invitation to a dream, and it's also taken from my latest album, Intersection. So this poet is expressing her wish to go back in time and not forward in time, to go back to the time where people were kinder, and where religion was about just a nice priest who is good and who has good heart and good sense of humanity. So yeah, it's called Sanahlum in Arabic.
تعال لنحلم إن المساء الجميل دنا، وليل الدجى وخدود النجوم تنادي بنا. تعال لنحلم إن المساء الجميل دنا، وليل الدجى وخدود النجوم تنادي بنا. تعال نصيد الرؤى ونعد خيوط السنا ونشهد منحدرات الرمال على حبنا. سنمشي معا فوق صدر جزيرتنا السائدة ونبقي على الرمل آثار أقدامنا الشاردة. ويأتي الصباح ويلقي بأندائه الباردة وينبت حيث حلمنا ولو وردة واحدة. تعال لنحلم إن المساء الجميل دنا وليل الدجى وخدود النجوم تنادي بنا. تعال لنحلم إن المساء الجميل دنا وليل الدجى وخدود النجوم تنادي بنا. سنحلم سنحلم سنحلم.
Thank you, Mark.
Lovely, really lovely. So we have just a few minutes to go. I wonder if we can have Mark come up so we can see his face to thank him
Yes,
for.
Mark, can you please
playing.
come here so we can.
But how will he come through the wires?
This is Mark.
Yeah, I'm happy you didn't, fall with the wires all over the place. Mark is a fantastic pianist from Lebanon. I really admire him a lot. This guy is so talented. By the way, he was the pianist on, I think, almost all the work from the soundtracks of Nadine Labaki's films. Were you not?
Yeah, it was a lovely experience back then, and I enjoyed it a lot, and we became friends. And, this country offers some opportunities when it's it's played well. Let's say, we're a small community, so you just need to understand how the market works, and wait. Yeah, I don't know. It takes a lot of time because you have to prove yourself a lot and work a lot on yourself with no means, like not a lot of means. Plus, okay, you can add the whole political pressure, and also I think in the Lebanese case we don't have lots of resources, nor good schooling in music, basically. So you do the job, you keep doing the job. Like I don't stop learning, and it's a constant work. Yeah, and I'm very happy to have met Tania 8 years ago, and it's now we're performing much more, and yeah.
We did some very nice improvisations on a few songs that we recorded on my phone. We posted them on SoundCloud because now with the situation of confinement, it's very hard to do things properly in studios and get the big band and so on. So we're trying to stay in shape by just performing every now and then together, so that we do some rehearsing and stay alive somehow.
Well, it was super to have you. I want to show your album covers again because they're so lovely, and I very much hope that people will go and find Tania Saleh's music. I very often write to your albums. I find I put it on. It's remarkable. I'm transported to a nightclub in Beirut with your band, and you're standing up there with your long gloves declaiming. You put both your hands like that when you sing. You're sort of making dramatic gestures, and I find it's very good, super writing music. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate you joining us today for our May Day festival, the Festival of Workers. And I hope you'll at some point come to Delhi and perform live at Studio Safdar, where you'll get the kind of intimate, serious audience that I think every artist likes. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vijay. And please thank all your technical team. They were wonderful people who, assisted me into this journey with you. So thank you, and hopefully we will see each other soon.
I hope so.
Thank you, Mark, for joining me.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Thanks, Tania.